Hey guys, it's Sunday night. Thanks for joining us. I'm Ken Arnold.
And I've decided to remain Tommy Weber for
That
the
away.
time being.
I love it. I love it for the time being. Who are you considering? Becoming. Batman, maybe.
Maybe some
Batman?
superhero. Yeah.
Excellent. All right, let me check out. Make sure we're playing correctly on Facebook. And look at that. Yeah. Hey, we're live on YouTube. Fantastic. And let me check on Facebook. All right, we're good. We are absolutely good to go. So, how was your week, Tommy?
Good week.
Good week. You watch any of the games this week?
Yeah.
I watched Mickey Callaway get all upset when Arrieta hit somebody with a changeup yesterday. Did you watch that?
Yeah, I think that thing is coming undone, isn't it? Oh my God!
I was kind of like, he does realize that was a changeup that he hit the guy with right there, right? I mean, the Mets capitalized anyway; they went on to win that game, but he hit the guy with a changeup. He's not trying to hit that guy right there in that situation, especially with a changeup. Arrieta's going to hit you. He's going to hit you with, he's going to hit you with 95. He can't throw 95 anymore. But anyway, still going to hurt. It's still going to hurt, right? So, anyway, so I got a bunch of things to talk about this week, and what we're going to do this week, guys, is we're going to change it up a little bit. Hopefully, you'll ask some questions, but what we're going to do is we're going to show some videos, and then we're going to discuss those videos. We even have a center of gravity video with one of the top 10 picks in this year's draft is in the video, and we'll get an opportunity to take a look at his center of gravity and Weber talking with him about that. So that's going to be kind of cool. So if you have any questions, please ask, and let's get into it. Webbs, which video would you like to see first of the two you sent me today? You want to do back to the infield? All right.
Yeah.
Let's do that one. All right, you ready? Here we go.
Go ahead. Give some context here. This is actually.
Go ahead.
Did you lose me?
I did for a second. There, you're back. Okay. I got you back. Yeah. Go ahead.
So in a dialogue I'm having with some of my guys from the Astros, we're starting to get into some real nuanced stuff, really highbrow stuff, which is really cool because you have.
Oh, I lost you again there, Webbs. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to scoot you out and then scoot you back in here. Disconnect you, and then I'm going to reconnect. I'm going to disconnect you and reconnect you. All right, hang in there. There you are. Got you back. Yep, got you back. You were a question mark there for a second. The video is playing.
I see all too often, even in the big leagues.
Cool.
Late in the game, runner on first, extra base hit. First thing you need to know is that 9 times out of 10, infielders on relay plays are throwing the ball to home plate. It's very rare that infielders taking the ball and he's throwing it to second or to third base. Number 2, outfielders make throws to bases. They'll throw it to second, they'll throw it to third or to the plate. So Gleyber goes out and he's got his back turned to the plate. That's sin number 1. You never want to take your eye off of what's happening behind you. What's happening in front of you have no control over. Your internal clock is perfect. It will tell you exactly where to throw the ball and when to throw it if you keep your eye on what's happening behind you. So it's really important to go out with this kind of look, where you're looking back, and then being able to retrieve the ball and throw it. Nobody can make the decision as to where to throw the ball faster and more effectively than you can. So what Torres does is he winds up getting the ball with his back to the plate. He then looks to third because he needs to reorient himself, throws the ball to the plate, one bounce, runner makes it by about that much. Had he had his head on a swivel and been watching and glancing back, he would have easily been able to drift with the throw, know exactly where to throw it, and seamlessly make a one-hop throw to the plate, get the runner out, and the game would have been over. Worry about what's behind you, keep your head on a swivel, and trust yourself to make the most efficient, effective, quickest, best throw you can make.
All right, there it was. So,
pretty good.
Expound upon it.
Well, my guys from the Astros, we're starting to go over a lot of stuff, stuff that's happened during the season, what's a recurring theme. And when I see stuff, I now, rather than write it, I record it. So I'm getting in the habit of recording my thoughts, and I sent it out to my guys. It's something that they've had an issue with in a couple of games. It actually cost them a game And I've seen it throughout the years. I mean, this is no different than what I've been trying to teach infielders my whole life, is you can't have your back to the play. You have to know what's going on, because the reality is it's just like base running. Nobody makes the decision better, faster, and more efficiently than you do. So it's a lot more important to worry about what's happening behind you than what's happening in front of you. The outfield is going to pick the ball up and throw it to you. You have no control over that. And I think also there's some recurring themes in all of this. Number one is self-reliance. You're trying to teach your players to be able to do things on their own without somebody telling them what to do, where to throw the ball. There should never be a need at a high level of baseball. I think even in high school, there should never be a need to be set up on a relay and to have someone tell you where to throw the ball. The options are very limited. As I say in the video, infielders are going to throw the ball to the plate 99% of the time. Outfielders are the ones who have choices. They're going to throw the ball to second, third, or home, depending upon where the play dictates. But as an infielder, you got to know 99% of the time you come to the plate, you got to always have eyes in the back of your head, and there's really no reason to ever go out and not be watching what's going on behind you.
No, I totally agree. Especially when you get to a higher level, big college game, you get a lot of fans at a college game, or you get, you're playing professional and there are a few thousand people in the stands. You can't rely on what people are telling you anyway, because the noise is going to overpower whatever it is that's going on. You have to be paying attention to what's going on. You've got to look back. You've got to see it. And like you said, there is no possibility for the guy to tell you and then you to react or turn around and then look. You should always be in and out, over your shoulder, back out to see what's going on, then back out. You should know in 2 or 3 looks, in my opinion, over your shoulder, what's going to happen. Right. You should know.
The only time you should ever be surprised is if a runner falls down.
Yes.
That's the only time. If he falls down rounding third and you've cut the ball loose to the plate, well, that's the way it goes. There's nothing you can do about that. 9 times out of 10, that's going to be the right place to throw. And if anybody wants a frame of reference, the guy who was better at doing this than anybody I've ever seen was Derek Jeter. And in the 2000 World Series against the Mets, I believe the turning point in that game is Todd Zeile at the plate, Timo Perez on the bases. Todd Zeile hits one out into left field. Perez thinks it's a home run, so he commits the cardinal sin. He starts to celebrate.
Yep.
Jeter is watching this as he goes out towards left field. He never takes his eye off of Perez. David Justice grabs the ball, throws it into Jeter on a bounce. Jeter lets the ball drift with him. He walks towards the line with the ball, throws a one-hop perfect strike to Posada. That would have been the winning run in that game. The Mets would have won Game 1 had Jeter not been so alert and so conscious of what's going on behind him, not in front of him.
And that's also a case of Perez not hustling or not
right.
celebrating instead of playing the game.
Correct.
And we've seen that as well this week.
Over and over
again.
Too many times.
I saw it again today in a San Diego game. There was a play that at second base, guy was sliding in. They threw down to second, tugged the guy out, and the guy's foot was just above home plate by that much. And if he would have hustled in and touched the plate, it wouldn't have been a question. Now they go to the review. They look. When the tag was made, the guy's foot was this far above home plate. No run. And again, like you said, what's the did I lose you again, Weber? I did. What's the I'm going to bring you back. I'm going to disconnect, reconnect. Let's see. See if I can get Weber back real quick. Reconnect. Hey, I got you. Hey, there he is again. He's all locked up and frozen. You there?
I'm here.
All right, you're in and out. There you go. All right, we got you back. But I was saying that in today's game in San Diego, it was a case again. The guy's foot was this much over home plate. They went to the replay, and no run because the guy did not touch home plate. He wasn't hustling. He jogged into home.
I mean, the video is not about necessarily running or not running. It's about being cognizant of what's happening behind you and trying to teach, especially young kids, some self-reliance on the field so that they don't always have to be told what to do. They could act quickly and reflexively and be more self-reliant players, and as a result, be more active and better players. And, and I see it. Look, at the major league level, I see it. That was Gleyber Torres who didn't do it well. So imagine how it trickles its way down to young players and high school players and players in college. It's a part. These are the parts of the game that everybody laments are missing, but very few people take the time to talk about or teach.
Yeah, we're having difficulty on YouTube right now, which is we're fine on Facebook. We're playing fine. We've got a good stream. Yep, still up. So, but I don't know what happened to YouTube. YouTube just cut out. The program we're using warned me that we were going to cut out, and we've cut out on YouTube. So, if you were watching on YouTube, we apologize. Don't know what's going on with that stream, but we'll try to get it figured out as we keep going. So let's get to that next video, Webbs.
Okay.
And let's see. Oh, I see what's going on. All right, I just had to refresh the dashboard. That's cool. Awesome. All right, let us know, Victor. Victor Coco's watching on YouTube. We got good video over there, Victor? That would be cool if you could let me know, because right now it's telling me I'm offline. So, all right, let's take a look at that other video that you were talking about, the dropping of the bat. You all set?
I'm ready.
All right, here we go.
So here's what we got him working on. The other night, I want to have less of the bat drop. So what I mean by that is, if we're going to swing from the ground up and we're going to allow our body to be the engine, the bat's going to come along last, right? The bat's going to come along last. It's in line with my shoulders. The barrel's underneath my hands, right? Parallel. That's the kind of move we want. Well, the only way to do that is to allow the bat to drop, right? And the only way to allow the bat to drop, the reason why the bat drops and gets weightless, is because your body is moving and the bat is not. Once the bat starts to move, your body stops. So you'll get this look for a guy who stops moving his center. He'll get here, he'll get the contact, and then he'll go like that, and the bat will drop. So what he sometimes looks like is this, and the bat drops. It's even hard for me to do it because I'm so used to hitting the ball with my body. So what I want more of this look with him is from the ground up, try to finish a little higher, and at attention, at least make that be how you feel. You don't necessarily have to do it. That kind of Griffey look, where it's this way. And if you notice, the bat
That's a good swing.
never drops. The bat never drops because my body keeps turning. As long as my body turns, the bat will stay with it. If my body stops turning, then the bat goes that way. The bat gets weighted, you flip at it, and you turn balls over. Right? So from the left side, it's that way, finishing high and strong at attention, as opposed to the bat. It's really hard for me to do. I'm so used to swinging with my body. So the point is, try to aim for a high point in your finish, right? So that your body takes the bat along with it. Have the dog wagging the tail not wagging the dog. From the ground up. From the ground up.
All right. Yeah. Whoop. I lost Weber again. Man, this is killing me. All right, let me bring him back. There he is. I got you. What'd you do? Knock the thing off?
I like it. So, tries to encourage players to understand what moves the bat. Mm-hmm. It's not your hands. It's not your arms. There's no such thing as trusting your hands or hitting the ball with your hands and wrists. If you had to hit the ball with only your hands, you wouldn't hit the ball 100 feet. It's the momentum you can create, the power, the energy, the speed, the velocity, whatever you want to call it, by moving your body. So if you understand how your body moves, then the bat kind of becomes incidental. What happens with most hitters is because the bat is weighted, they swing the bat. So they kind of cast it, they get over the top of it, they roll over it. You've got to kind of let the bat be along for the ride. And what we try to do is create an image or a feeling where it's your body's moving and your arms and hands are along for the ride, so that the bat, just like a golf club or a tennis racket, feels unweighted. At some point in the swing, the bat has to feel like it's almost not there. So as you start to go and your body starts to move, that bat has to feel weightless. If the bat feels weighted, you'll cast it. You'll try to throw it rather than just allowing it, like that Griffey move that I love, that stand at attention that Griffey did. That was because he swung the bat with his body, not with his hands and arms. So that's what we're trying to create. And also, it depends on who we're working with. We give certain cues that might work for one guy that won't work for another guy.
Sure.
So when you develop a relationship with a player, you sort of know how he learns, or at least you have a clue as to how he learns, and you try to customize it that way. But in general, there's far too many references to the hands and the arms in hitting and not enough to the body. And if you could move and then just put the bat, the club, the boxing glove, the tennis racket in your hand, you no longer are so conscious of where the object is. You just know how to move through the swing. And that's what really good hitters do.
Okay, so here's a question for you. Is there a fine line right there, or a way to utilize both what you're saying? Because you hear hands a lot, right? Yeah. But I would combine that and say, okay, you need to start your hands, but your body picks it up and takes them the rest of the way, or something along those lines.
I'll tell you an image I created with one guy. I said, I want you to think that once your foot is on the ground, once your left foot is on the ground, that you've got a scarf in your right hand, right? And you're going to take the scarf and throw it across your chest. So by telling him he's got to throw it across his chest has to get out of the way. So I'm telling him to do something with his hands, but I know that if he does it, he's not going to go like this. He's going to go like that. He's going to be moving. His body's going to start turning. His chest is going to be towards the pitcher, and then he's going to throw the scarf over his left shoulder. That's one way where you can incorporate the hands. When you start telling guys it's all about your hands, then they stop moving, they get very stagnant, and their body doesn't create any force or energy.
No, and you need that force and energy to drive the baseball.
Right, you better have it.
Yeah,
you better.
Well, if you want to drive the baseball, you can be a handsy hitter. You can be like Rod Carew was a handsy hitter.
Right.
And Ichiro was a handsy hitter unless he didn't want to be.
Right.
He got a pitch that he wanted. He would let it go. He would use his hips as well. But guys like that, Pete Rose, I think, was a very handsy guy. He was a handsy hitter. But you look at the guys today who are hitting, and the guys that, like your Hunter Bishops, this kid coming up. You look at Mike Trout. You look at Rhys Hoskins from the Phillies. You look at Bryce Harper from the Phillies. Those guys are generating and getting everything going with that hip rotation. And then their hands, the bat, like you said, Tommy, looks weightless. And
it has to be weightless.
You can really see that in youth players because it looks like the bat's just heavy.
Right.
Just heavy. And when they start to swing it, they've got to really generate arm and everything to get it going. Whereas if they just rotated, that bat would become weightless and go through the zone. And if they put a little bit of hand into it as they went through, they would crush the ball.
I agree.
They would.
I like to call it I call it the dog wags the tail. The tail doesn't wag the dog.
Yeah.
So because your arms are the tail. And you don't want that trying to move your body. You want your body moving your arms because your body's bigger and stronger as a result. There's more mass. Wherever there's more mass, there's more power, there's more acceleration, there's more energy, there's more speed. So I agree. I think that, but you hear so much misinformation. If you just study how guys move and how good hitters move and drive the ball, you'll see it's done. And that's why I want this particular hitter to feel, I say this to a lot of guys, like the ball is on your bat for a long period of time. Because in order for the ball to feel that way, you've got to keep turning, and not drop the bat. Once you drop the bat, your body has stopped turning, your arms have taken over, and now you're no longer synchronized. Your arms and your body have to be in rhythm. They have to act in concert. Once they act independent of one another, you're now out of rhythm and you're not going to make solid contact.
No, and you see some of these guys, these hitters that hit that way, get fooled, and yet they still drive the baseball because they keep that bat through the ball in the zone
a long time.
And boom, they still hit it, and they hit it a long way.
Yep.
Which is pretty impressive. Torres, Gleyber Torres does that. He does
Yes,
it.
he does.
He gets fooled quite a bit, yet still drives the ball. Like you can
Right.
if
When
you
you
keep
when
that
you
in the
hit
zone.
when you hit with your hands, you have very little margin for error. You're trying to get the ball at a certain spot. When you hit with your body, you could almost, although you're not, you could sweep the bat through the hitting area for a far longer period of time, so that you stand a much greater likelihood of making solid contact.
We've got a couple people commenting on the watch party. Dwayne Bateman said, "It's all in the hip. It's all in the hips." Like what's his name from Happy Gilmore? Apollo Creed. He said, "It's all in the hips." So I think that's what he was referencing, the Apollo Creed from Happy Gilmore. But I think too that at the youth level and in through high school, kids still don't have a strong core, and it hurts them. But as they develop that core, you can start to see that difference. You can start to see them starting to really allow that to happen. Their strength allows everything to come through the zone like that, and they start really driving the baseball. It's nice when you finally see a kid all of a sudden start driving the ball and hitting it out of the infield, whereas in the past, they could barely get it out of the infield.
Yeah, and they also do so little that involves movement, where you're moving a lot. This is why the age of instruction really has almost been regressive as far as I'm concerned, not progressive, is they just don't do enough that develops their body and their sense of motion and how to move, which is why whenever I look at a kid, if I like the way he plays, I say, I love how he moves. It's not how he plays, it's how he moves. He knows how to move. His swing is a good move because it is a movement. It's not a swing. It's just called a swing. It's a movement. You've got to move your body in a certain way. And I think sometimes the word swing creates in a kid's head a very long, slow picture of what's going on, when in fact it's a very dynamic, fast, quick, strong move you have to make. And if you don't do a lot of that kind of moving, well, then hitting becomes a very foreign movement to you.
Yeah, it's explosive.
Yes.
I was waiting for you to say that word.
Yeah,
explosive.
it is.
It's an explosive movement. It's quiet, explosive.
So
Quiet,
I use
quiet,
this
boom.
a lot with my pro guys. You don't swing the bat, you release the bat.
Okay.
That's what you do. You want to get yourself into such a position that the bat's got nowhere to go but through the ball. Now you've got that tension that you've built up, and all you want to do now is release it. Like a rubber band, you pull it as far as you could, and then you just let it go. I like that better than swinging. To me, that's a much better image of what hitting is. Mm-hmm. Just like
Absolutely.
a throw. You really don't throw the ball, you release the ball. You wind up and you release the baseball.
Yeah,
we
you
call
pull-
it throwing, but
Yeah, you pull the rubber band back,
right,
and then you let it go.
release it. Right.
Woof. And you generate all that you coil, you generate all of that energy, and then you release it forward when you throw the ball. Dwayne Bateman from Louisiana said dancing. Dancing would help with the core.
Certainly would.
Absolutely.
How many times have I said that? How
I know.
many times have I said?
I used to do it.
I
Yeah.
would, if I was a college, I would have my guys dance all the time. It is, because I think about infield play is just a dance.
Yeah.
It's a dance. You got to be able to move.
That, or I would have them think about doing Pilates or a yoga just to work on that core and the flexibility for baseball.
Yep.
Lifting weights is great. It has its place.
Yeah,
but
you should be strong.
Yeah.
You need to incorporate a complete, holistic approach to developing your body. But developing your body is not developing your moving.
No.
And if I had to choose one or the other,
Dance
I
would
would
be-
develop my moving. I want to be able to move. And what I keep coming back to this because I'm watching a lot of younger guys now lately, and I just see that they just don't move. They're in one place, and the ball gets hit to them, and then they respond. They should be perpetually moving, constantly moving.
out on the field doing baseball movements.
Yes.
Right? And there are coaches out there who just run you for 45 minutes.
That's a waste of time.
Before you even pick up a baseball or do anything baseball related.
I would venture to say that on a 14-year-old team, unless it's an elite, national team, the average 14-year-old team, that there aren't two kids who could make 2 or 3 throws in a row on the run. If you hit them 2 or 3 balls in a row and they had to run in one direction or another and make a play on the run, they would not be able to do it. That means you can't move. That means you can't move.
Yeah, would be tough. What I always look for too is especially in the infield, I look for their movement side to side, how their footwork, how they position themselves, how they get around a baseball, do they field through the ball, and I'm always looking for that. So like you said, if you can't catch the ball and make a throw consistently, 4 or 5 times, you can't move. You got to work on that. You really have to. So, all right, you want to do the center of gravity video? Talk about that?
Sure.
All right, so this is a little different. This one is not going to pop up on the screen. What I'm going to do is I'm going to do a screen capture, and then we will. You can actually talk while we're watching this video, and I can pause it, and we can work from there. So let me do this. All right, you ready?
Yep.
Let me grab that screen cap, and here we go.
Yeah, so that's Hunter Bishop. That's last season.
All right.
Hunt, when we had Hunt in 2017, he was just a baby. He was a freshman, just all skills, and he was great. He had a great year. He struggled a little bit in the Cape, like all freshmen do, but he just had so much ability. 6'4.5", 215, 6'3", 60. Just hit the ball a mile. What we really wanted to do with Hunter was 2 things. Number one was we wanted him to realize how good he was and how much skill and ability he really had. So we didn't want to really tinker with him too much. But to his own credit, he's a tinkerer. He loves to get to work in the cage. And here we are doing early work. That's really early. He's probably, that's a 5 o'clock game. We're probably out there at like 11 a.m. and he just couldn't get enough. So the one thing I wanted him to do was feel his body more. I just thought that at the plate, he wasn't using his body enough, and he was getting beat by some pitches he shouldn't get beat by. So what I tried to, in this video, I'm talking to him a lot about his center of gravity.
Okay.
And taller guys have more trouble with center of gravity than shorter guys do, because shorter guys are closer to the ground.
All right.
So I wanted him to feel the ground. And I thought that if he could feel the ground a little more, that he'd get better plate coverage, he'd stay in his posture longer, and he has such incredible power the other way that he'd now be like a doubles machine to left center field.
Sure.
And he worked really hard on that. Once we got past like the midway point, like the July 4th point in that season, he just caught fire. And that fire lasted through his fall at Arizona State and obviously his All-American season in the spring and being the number 10 pick in the draft. So he really got a lot. He's a different kind of animal. He's a guy you have to sort of really pick your spots with because he's so skilled. And, you got to just – I picked one thing, and the one thing with him was his balance. And here I'm trying to convince him that if he stays in his posture longer, it's harder to tip him over, and he's going to get more energy and power from the ground and drive balls the other way. And it really, I think, he took it and ran with it.
All right, I'm going to play it. You ready?
I'm ready.
Here we go. You can talk during this one, Tommy.
Yeah, he's, here I'm just hoping he doesn't kick my ass.
Oh, that's funny. All right, let's listen to the rest of it.
All right. He's just such a super student. He makes eye contact, and he's a great listener, and he takes everything in, and then he uses, one thing about Hunter, man, he uses what he's a very effective learner in that he hears what you say, and then he takes what he knows is going to work for him, and he runs with it. And we have a great trusting relationship in that way. I know he's not going to take everything I tell him. I don't want him to take everything I tell him for gospel. I want him to take what I tell him, pick out a little tidbits that he thinks he could use, and go and run with it. And that's exactly what he did. So that was a very, very – I'm very thankful that was a very commonplace occurrence for 2 years with Hunter, and obviously he has. To his credit, he's the 10th pick in the draft, so it worked.
Cool. The center of gravity for a lot of people is an issue, like you said, especially with a taller guy. Like I had, I'm 6 foot, but I always felt better when I was a little bit lower. I always did. I always felt more balanced. I would get out there, I would spread my feet apart a little bit. I'd get my, bend my knees. I had a slight leg kick, but I felt good in that position. I never felt truly comfortable when I was straight up and down. And
I'll tell you what we did with Hunter.
Hit like that.
Hunter liked to stand up straight. So what I did was I never tried to change that. But what I did try to make him do, or try to make him appreciate, I didn't try to make him do anything, is I tried to make him appreciate that there's only 2 directions to go in sports, down and forward. You never want to go up and back, right? So I kind of got him into this feeling where I wanted him to feel a little sink as he got into his swing. And if you watch him at Arizona State, he really cultivated it and refined it. But now he's got that, like, he'll stand tall, he'll sort of lean back, and then as the pitcher's coming in, he'll sort of drop into his center.
Yep.
And that is a really, really good thing to do. It's a good timing mechanism. It takes away the big leg kick that a lot of guys have. Mm-hmm. But if you're tall and you could just sort of sit a little bit, just as your trigger mechanism, it really keeps you in touch with the ground. And he's really almost perfected it.
Yeah. I think the leg kick, for me, when I was playing, the leg kick, I had a big one when I was in college. And when I got into the pros, I cut down on that a lot. I still had it, but I made it smaller. I made it that way the timing of it was a little bit better for me because guys were throwing harder. Yes. So I wanted to get that foot down so I could then get my hips and hands going, boom, together.
Yep.
So I did cut down on that. And being and it wasn't a big bend. Like I wasn't down like Pete Rose, hunched.
Right.
It was just, I sank down into my center. I sank down about 3-4 inches. Boom, just to get and be in that comfortable. When you take a martial arts class, that's what they, when they want you to find your center, they tell you bend your knees and then sink down 2 or 3 inches, and that's usually where you'll find it.
And that's what they do in dance class. That's what they do in yoga. Mm-hmm. It's very Eastern. We're very in the West. We're kind of slow. We're not. We're slow on the uptake. We've got a very hyper macho kind of vibe with how we teach people, and that's unfortunate. But in the West, in the East, they've got it figured out. They've had it figured out for thousands of years. It is about your center. Your core, your soul self, if you will. To work with really elite players or young players. Listen, I could make a strong argument for with a young team. Nobody should ever be standing straight up.
Yep.
When you have a practice, this is something. See how long your guys could go remaining in the athletic position. That in and of itself is a strength builder. Because try to do that with your knees bent, your hips, your waist bent over your waist a little bit in that good athletic position. How long can you do that? The average kid can't do that for 40 seconds without needing a Gatorade. Yeah. Well, that's the position you got to be familiar with because that's the ready position to do anything.
No, and in practice, at the end, as a little competition with the guys I have on my team, I have them get into that position, a good athletic position with their, back flat, their shoulders back and down, chest up, head up, boom, and then sink down into it, almost as if they're about ready to field a ball, ground ball. And I'd see, okay, I'll put you on the clock, see who can hold it the longest. And like you said, most of them can't do it for 40 seconds. There are a couple.
Easy.
There are a couple outliers. There are a couple outliers. The stronger kids and you're always going to have the stronger kids. But the other kids, and that's what I tell them when we're done. Hey, you guys need to work on your strength, finding your center, and becoming strong in that position. You do that, you'll be a much better athlete in any sport, and it will make you a much better baseball player by far. Absolutely.
I'm shocked at how little kids are taught to be ready to hit. Most kids are not ready to hit. You've got to be ready. What's the ready position? If your dog got loose or your cat got loose, what would you do? You'd probably stand there with your hands in front of you, your knees bent at the waist, ready to go in any direction. Well, That's basically the ready position in hitting. I can't believe how unready, if you will, so many kids are. And so few people say you gotta be ready to hit.
What do I say to every one of my hitters as they walk up the home plate? Ready to hit. Ready to hit. Because in all the drills we do, that's what I'm telling them. I'm like, you don't even look ready to hit right now. You've got to look ready to hit. Let's get in here. Let's look ready to hit. And then as they walk up the home plate, that's the only thing I say to them. Ready to hit. See it and hit it. Let's go. Have fun. I'm not giving them any other instruction than that. So that's it.
Yeah, I like the fighting analogy. You got to beat somebody to the punch.
Mm-hmm.
And pitchers sense if a guy is ready. Don't think for 1 second that there isn't an unspoken conversation going on all the time between pitcher, hitter, one team and the other. That's why I want my pitchers to work fast and look like they can't wait to throw the next pitch. Because as a hitter, and so do I, that's unnerving. That's like, does this guy know something I don't know about? Does he have a pitch that I can't hit? Why is he in such a rush to get the ball to the plate? That's an unnerving feeling. When, you want to step out, be ready, fix your glove, do all that. When that guy's chomping at the bit, that's something that could really unnerve you as a hitter. And as a hitter, you have to counter that by, as I say to my guys, you're swinging from the time you leave the on-deck circle. Let's go. You got to be ready to go.
Yep. You got to go up there looking to be aggressive to hit.
Right.
I get too many of my guys go up there and they just stand there.
I know.
And then, 3 pitches later, they're back in the dugout. I'm like, well, you weren't ready to hit. You didn't go up there looking to hit. You went up there looking for a walk or whatever. I don't know what it was, but it wasn't looking to be aggressive and looking to attack the baseball.
Here's the one that drives me crazy. It's second and third, nobody out.
Mm-hmm.
And you take the first fastball right down the pipe. What are you doing? Like, why would you take the first? That might be the best pitch you get. Now he's up on you 0-1. He throws you a breaking ball. You fouled off. Now it's second and third, an RBI situation, and you're in the worst position you could possibly be. Now you got to get defensive because you got 2 strikes on you. When it's runners in scoring position, you got to look to hit early because the best pitch you might get might be the first one.
Absolutely. You got runners in scoring position. Even if you're not an RBI guy, that's the time.
Even more so.
Yeah.
You don't want the pitcher to get you down 0-2.
But I also like to say, Tommy, if you're a good hitter, you can hit in any count.
Yeah.
Just saying. I'm just saying. If you're a good hitter, you can hit in any count.
The problem is everybody's not a good hitter.
I know.
So,
wow, that's
if you're hitting
true.
number 7 in the lineup, I want you to hit early. Put the ball in play. Let's go.
Fair enough.
You can't strike out on the first pitch.
No, you can't. And like you said, and like I said, if you're a good hitter, you can hit with 2 strikes. You can hit 1, you can hit with 2.
Right.
It doesn't matter. Right? I mean, if you ask me, if I was in my playing days and you asked me, do you think you're a good hitter? I'm not going to tell you no. I'm going to tell you yeah, because I want to be a good hitter.
Right.
That's just the attitude you should have as a player. I don't want you to go, no, I suck. I don't. What the hell are you going up there for?
I hear that way too often. Self-talk. Yeah, self-talk is really bad. I think this is the low self-esteem generation. Constantly hear guys say, I suck, I'll never hit, I can't hit, can you teach me how to hit? Come on, man. Really? Come on. You got to think the other team sucks. That's because they don't compete. Nobody wants to compete anymore. It's too collegial. So, listen, sometimes you got to convince yourself that you're better than you are. So you go up there with a puncher's chance.
I know. That's the thing, too, I see from a lot of my hitters is they don't go up there with any fight. They don't play the game with any fight.
Well, because they don't fight.
Yeah, they would rather me yell at them than make an adjustment and fight.
Yeah, that kind of.
They would rather me be like, "What are you doing? You need to do this, this, and this," and instead of fighting and making the adjustment that I'm trying to give them.
Yeah, you don't hear things like scratch and claw and whatever you got to do anything. You don't hear that anymore. You don't. It's become very algebraic, like it's some kind of equation that either you have it or you don't, which is ridiculous because the ball can bounce anyway. You could find a way. You've seen stranger things than an overmatched hitter going up there and it's 0-2 and all of a sudden pitcher makes a mistake and he lines one over the first baseman's head for a double.
Exactly.
And if you don't have that attitude that every single pitch something good could happen, well, then you've got a 90% chance of something bad happening.
Yep. I was watching a game the other day. This is great. I want to get into something that really weird happened the other day. Have you ever seen 3 outs in an inning at home plate?
No.
3. In the Cubs, who were they playing?
How do you get 3 guys thrown out at home plate?
Yeah, it was. The bases were loaded. Guy hit a weak ground ball to the pitcher. He ran in, flipped the ball to the catcher. That was number 1.
Bases are still loaded.
Still loaded. They came up. Guy bunted.
Force out.
Yeah, at home. Flipped it again. And then
comebacker.
There was a base hit to the outfield.
One run scores.
Outfield came up, threw the guy out at home. 3 in a row. I mean, not 3 in a row, but 3 outs at home plate, which is really odd. I had never seen that. I don't remember seeing it ever. I mean, I'm sure it's happened in baseball.
Sure.
Because the history of the game is so long. But how strange is that 3 outs were boom, boom, boom at home plate? It's just an odd thing. They even commented and said that. Another funny thing that I heard from an announcer this week, which you usually don't hear.
I hear a lot of funny things from announcers.
Every time I turn the TV on, it's one right after the other.
Wow.
But I heard one actually say something that made sense. There was a weak ground ball to the shortstop and a run scored. And what do you think the announcer said? Good things happen when you put the ball in play.
Well, yeah.
I couldn't believe he said that. I was like, holy moly, what? Finally, somebody said, he didn't say, oh, that was just a weak ground ball, really didn't do any damage or something stupid like that. He said, put the ball in play, good things happen. They got another run. And that's what you need. You need to put runs on the board. So
right.
That hitter did a good job by putting the ball in play.
You can't drive in runs if you're striking out.
Yes.
I mean, you just can't do it.
You just can't do it. And it's become just insane that they – and the other thing I saw this week, and we'll talk about this and then we'll wrap up because we've been on for over 50 minutes. But in a game, there was a man on third base, Tommy. The guy came up, and it was in the American League, so he wasn't a pitcher. It wasn't a pitcher hitting. It was I think it was an outfielder, like the 8th or 9th guy in the order. But he squared way early, went to bunt, and fouled it off. Nobody moved. The third baseman didn't move, the first baseman didn't move, and the pitcher just kind of stood on the mound.
Oh, yeah, you were telling me about that.
Right?
Yes.
And then the next pitch, and there's a slow guy on third base, and then the next pitch, they did it again. The guy squared way early, so it wasn't a suicide. The guy from third was not taking off. He was not running. He might have had an aggressive lead, but he wasn't running.
Right.
And then the guy just turned around and bunted the ball right back to the pitcher, and nobody moved. The pitcher stayed on the mound the whole time. He let it come to him. The third baseman never moved. The first baseman never moved. The guy from third just jogged in and scored. And they got the out at first, but I was like, you're in a 2-run game. You're going to let that just happen? Nobody did anything. They just didn't even... How do you do that? 2 plays in a row. Nobody was in the dugout going, hey, you think you might want to come in a little bit and, try to stop that from happening? It wasn't a suicide squeeze. It was a safety squeeze at best. So,
look, I think there are a lot of teams that when you get to the big leagues, they just let you play. I mean, that's why Brett Gardner still dives into first base. Nobody has told him over the last 12 years, Brett, stop diving into first base, you moron. And if you do it again, you're not going to play.
I saw Didi do it.
Listen, I don't care who does it.
It's
bad.
Do it
it's a bad idea, and you shouldn't do it. And, I don't know how many more times people have to realize, first of all, it slows you down. Second of all, it's dangerous. The only time you should ever dive into first base is when you're avoiding a tag. But, there's a whole lot of, listen, we talk about it all the time. I saw Aaron Hicks again yesterday. He had a home run yesterday, but he posed again, and it was a close game. And he took, 3 seconds to leave the batter's box, and that ball just made it out in left field. If that ball bounces around, you could be on third base. It's a 1-run game. And I guess nobody, has a meeting with Aaron Hicks and says, "Listen, I just need you to run. I'm not trying to take away your fun. I know it's all about fun now, right?
Yeah.
But I just need you to, when you hit a ball that's going to be close, you got to go. You got to move. Now, don't worry about the celebration until after there's something to celebrate."
Yep. I was watching that game where he wound up on second base. And
I think that cost the Yankees that game. I don't care if they lost by 2 runs. If they get up 3-0 in that game, the Mets go run and hide, and it's over. They would have buried the Mets.
Yeah,
but instead, it breathed life into them.
I was yelling at my TV while it was happening. I'm going, what is he doing? Run. And then, like you said, that can cost you down the line. If I was
Absolutely.
a Yankee fan, I would be livid. I would be livid. If I was the Yankees front office, I would be livid because you just, if we get down to the wire and like you said, we wind up being the wild card team and we lose in the wild card, you just cost us $50 million because we didn't have 2 playoff games in our building. At least 2.
Yeah, and I think management, has every right to ask that of its players. I mean, I'm not saying guys shouldn't celebrate. Go ahead, do all the celebrating you want. But when you have something to celebrate, until then, I need you to run hard.
Hard all the time.
I do.
Run hard, right?
I can't believe we're actually pleading with guys to run hard. I'm just, come on, man.
Especially when you're making how many millions of dollars?
I don't care
per
if you
season?
make. You know what? If an amateur could do it, a professional could do it. I'm not asking you to sprint to first when you walk. I don't want you sprinting on the field. That's stupid too. Trot onto the field. I get it. Long season. I understand all of that.
Yeah.
But, and you know what? When it's a comebacker, jog to first base. I get it. I understand that. But when you hit a fly ball that stays in the ballpark and you're still at home plate, that's not good. You can't do that.
No.
I'm sorry.
No.
That's where I have to draw the line.
I saw a guy today hit a ball back to the pitcher. He took 2 steps, turned around, and started walking back, and the play was still going on. The pitcher
That's
hadn't.
a bad look, man.
The pitcher hadn't
bad
even thrown it to first base yet, and he stopped and was walking back to the dugout. I was like, yeah, he was out, but still, the pitcher still has the ball. At least continue in that direction until you know that the throw is a good throw. I don't care if the guy, he hit it, boom, back to the pitcher catches it, he throws it to first, the guy catches the ball at first, and then you stop and walk back to the dugout. I don't care.
Fine.
But he stopped and was walking back before the pitcher even threw the ball to first base.
It's a bad look. And as
like,
an organization, you have to want to be better than that. I'm sorry. There's no reason. Look, there's no value to that. You want to give me something that has a value and argue it, fine. But that has no value. None. And that's just, and here's the deal. That starts to become, you determine when it is that you can run. So now maybe I'm not going to run on a ground ball up the middle. And maybe I'm not going to run because it's July. Maybe I'm not going to run. Well, you know what? I don't know that that's necessarily in your job description. I don't know that that's your purview. That you even have the authority to make that decision. That becomes the authority of the organization. And the organization should exercise that and insist that you run everything out. There's nothing wrong with that.
So the futures game is on right now. All the prospects, minor league prospects, are playing before the All-Star game. The Home Run Derby is tomorrow. What do you think of the Home Run Derby? Give me
I have no interest whatsoever.
Yeah.
None.
No, I haven't watched it in a while. And when they first started doing it, I did watch it. But I heard they changed the format, so it's a time limit now. So you have a certain amount of time, and then
isn't it interesting though? They want everybody to rest. All you hear about during the season is rest.
Yeah.
And now you want guys going through this exercise where they gotta swing as hard as they possibly can, like 75 times in like 20 minutes.
Yeah.
I don't know. To me, I get it. It's good for business. I would be if I were a manager, and I'm sure if you polled managers secretly, they would feel very good if none of their players were involved in the Home Run Derby.
Well, did you see what Yelich was doing the other day?
He's out. He's not in it.
I know, but did you see what he was doing the other day? He took batting practice for the Home Run Derby.
Oh, yeah, they're practicing now.
He was working on his Home Run Derby swing.
That's great.
I'm like, are you? Jeez. Really, pal? Come on, man. You're the hottest hitter in the league. To be honest, I don't think that anybody who's on a first place team at the All-Star break should have to participate in the home run derby, or somebody who's close. If guys in the lower levels, like somebody from the Orioles wants to participate, let them. It gives the Orioles a little bit of PR.
Major League Baseball puts a lot of pressure on guys to participate. They do. They want all the stars there.
Yeah, but don't they want healthy stars to play in the playoffs and the rest of the season?
They're short-sighted.
So I that's what I don't understand. So
how is their seat, Tommy? How is their seat? What season? It's over. It's been over for a while. Now Brody Van Wagenen is playing tough guy by throwing chairs in a coach's meeting. Let me tell you something right now, Brody. It's a good thing I'm not the manager, because you're not throwing any chairs around in a meeting. Yeah. Really? Is that what it is now? You're playing like fake tough guy? Brody Van Wagenen is many things. Nobody thinks you're tough, Brody. Don't worry about it. Nobody.
The Mets are. It left the rails a long time ago for them, and it's not getting any better.
That's a redo, man. Yeah. I hate to say it, but they.
You think Mickey Callaway's there next season?
No way.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
No way.
And if the Phillies don't make the playoffs, I think Kapler's gone in Philadelphia.
He's horrible too. He's terrible.
Yeah, he's not a good manager. I would like to get someone like David Bell. I think David Bell is doing a really good job. I've played with his brother, and they come from a good family, baseball family. And I do know that they both know the brothers. They both know how to play baseball, and they were fundamentally sound, and they knew the game inside and out, both of them. So
I do think. I mean, maybe this is wishful thinking. I do think we will cycle back to putting guys in the dugout who stress fundamentals, because I think it's going to be so glaringly apparent to everyone that fundamentally a lot of teams are very unsound, and that there is a lot of upside in playing better baseball. Even the Yankees. The Yankees are not a really tight fundamental team.
No.
They don't have a good catcher. They don't play great fundamental, but power makes up for a lot of little mistakes that you make. So if you hit a lot of home runs, you kind of mask all your problems. But very few teams in the big leagues are really focusing on playing heightened, excellent fundamental baseball. And I do think that good managers that insist on that kind of play are going to be in demand again.
Where did those fundamental flaws show up mostly? When do they show up? In the playoffs.
Oh, God, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, God, yeah.
You will see that.
Right, because everything matters.
Yep. You will see the teams that are not fundamentally sound, and they'll be exposed when the playoffs come around.
Right.
Absolutely. Right. And you'll also, what gets exposed is poor managing.
Oh, my God.
Roberts, the Dodgers manager.
Wow.
He was, wow.
Joe Madden. Madden.
Oh, my boy. So you find out quickly who's a good manager and who is not when you're in the playoffs. So, but it's interesting, and I just watching again today, Tommy. Just watching the highlights and watching a game or two. The shift is still, it hurts as much as it helps. I really think it does. I think it all averages out in the end, because they'll shift and then there's a ball hit where somebody should have been, right? And then they say, oh well, he beat the shift. Well, if you didn't shift and you were kind of in your position, that would have been an out. And then the guy comes up the next time and he hits one right at somebody in the shift, and it works.
Yeah, I'd like to see what the marginal difference is.
I would like to see that too.
I would. I mean, are we splitting? Because I think a lot of this might be hair splitting, but and I'm just wondering if it's all worth the potential for confusion, which you do see a lot of.
I've seen that many times, especially
a lot of double
second
plays,
base. Yep.
Right? In like just if it's a lefty up and a ball gets hit just to the right of second base, like two guys are really close to each other, and there's sometimes there's confusion with that. So, look, when it's all said and done, Chris Carpenter had the best way to beat the shift.
Yep.
And that's bunt for a double.
That's right. He bunted it for a double. That was amazing. But first of all, he was smart enough to do it, and he had enough balls to do it. Because a lot of guys don't want to do it. They're just like, I'm just gonna go up there and I'll hit it over everybody's head. Okay, but that's not what we need right now. We need somebody to get on base.
Right. Right.
You know, so how about that? Let's get some base runners on and let's
Yep.
start something. Let's get this pitcher out of here. Let's get into somebody's bullpen because
Yep.
everybody knows bullpens suck. I'm
That's
just
right.
saying, they
Terrible.
do. They are terrible. So, all right, man. Let's wrap this up. It is 9:00. We've been on for almost an hour. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for your questions. Everybody at home for chiming in. Victor Coco, Joe Russo, Renee. Miranda was on for a little bit. Thank you. We will see you guys next week. The All-Star break is this week. Home Run Derby tomorrow. Of course, the All-Star game the following day. Enjoy the All-Star break. If you get a chance to check out the All-Star game in Cleveland, by the way, Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, which is really cool. And we'll be back next week. Tommy, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to put some of the kids that I work with, I'm going to videotape their swings.
Okay.
I'll videotape my sons and a couple of his friends who
right.
live in the neighborhood, and then we'll look at them next week, and then maybe
Great.
we can give a
Great
couple
idea.
pointers on what they can do to improve their swings.
Great idea.
So, and they're at different levels, which is nice. There's one kid who needs a lot of work, and there's one in the middle who's okay, and then the one kid rakes. And I don't really want to tell him too much to
Right.
change,
Right.
but I
Sure.
want to give you a gamut so we can go through, and we can
We'll
talk about it.
we'll do a little tutorial.
Exactly. So I will have those videos for next Sunday night, and we can do some hitting instruction.
Sounds good. I'm there.
All right, man. Enjoy
man. Be
your
good.
week. I'll see you soon.
I love you, man.
Love you. See ya.